Designed for the students of BEE7A, and this is a hybrid course. Some of the content will be delivered online and some of the content will be delivered in person in university. So let us start our discussion for today's session. Basically, in today's session we will be covering the computer abstractions and technology. So to start with, let us first see the content we will be covering in today's session. First of all, we will be having a brief introduction to the course of the computer organization, and then we will discuss the computer revolution. With the passage of time, how much development has been made with computer systems. Then we will discuss classes of computer. Afterwards, we will discuss the performance. We will try to understand the performance and how we're going to compare the systems in order to evaluate the performance. What are the parameters and what are the trade-offs while we were comparing the systems that are used to be carried out or that are used to be considered by a designer or a programmer. Then we will discuss the level of program codes with discussion with the abstractions from high level till hardware, and then we'll discuss the setup of a processor with an example. So as far as the reference readings and acknowledgements are concerned, we are at chapter number 1 of the book Computer Organization and Design, the hardware software interface, the fourth edition. If you have any latest edition, that would be recommended to you. The slides are taken from MK Publishers, and we would like to acknowledge them for the content, for the slides content. We can also use chapter number 1 from the book Computer Architecture, the Quantitative Approach, from the same authors. So to start with the computer revolution, let us first see what do we mean by the computer organization, and how we're going to define computer organization. So to start with the computer system and the the computer architecture basically covers all the designs and principles and norms a computer designer used to implement a computer system. That basically covers or that can have three major modules, which can be described as so computer architecture can have three major modules. First is the instruction set architecture, that's been written as ISA. That basically acts as a bridge between the designer and the hardware. Then we have a microarchitecture, which basically is our organization or computer organization. How things are organized in order to implement a system, basically that covers all those aspects, also the hardware and the software aspects. And then we have a digital design, that is basically the lowest level, that is the digital design. Basically how, in order to implement a particular setup, what are the alternatives or what are the options in order to implement that particular module. For example, if we have to implement the adder in a circuit in order to perform the addition operation, we can implement the basic simple adder. We can say that uh, the adder is basically the adder can be carry look ahead adder or some other alternative in order to implement that particular design. So what are the alternatives in order to implement on the component level or on a hardware basically? That is the third component of computer architecture. So computer architecture basically is a combination of the instruction set architecture that basically tells the programmers or the designers how to basically communicate with the hardware. So and the microarchitecture, that is particularly the organization and the digital design that is basically used to implement that particular module or particular hardware component basically. So we can say that the organization of a particular system, the resources, the instructions that are used to implement the system basically, that is covered under the heading of computer organization. And computer architecture is basically the main setup that covers all the three aspects. So in this course basically we will be focusing on a particular platform or particular architecture, and we will be having our discussion regarding that architecture, that is MIPS 32 architecture. uh, that is basically a RISC architecture. So our point of concern in this course would be revolving around the MIPS 32 architecture, and we will be discussing its instruction set architecture, its organizational setup, and its processor design basically. So that are the prime objective of the course, in order to get all the students familiar with all the setup and the design aspects of how to design a processor and what are the components that are needed to be considered while designing a particular hardware. So to start with our discussion with the computer revolution, we can say that nowadays, since the technology is reshaping the world with a specific pace, uh, and it is true also for the computer systems as well. So with the passage of time, more advancements and more developments we are seeing in the revolution, the computer system revolution, and the technology is reshaping basically, is evolving with a certain pace. And previously we can say that the Moore's law that basically predicts the number of discrete components or transistors basically would double with every 18 years. Now we can say that that law is also underpinned basically. So we can say that now the certain design aspects are also needed to be considered, and that the development in the technology basically is done on such a large scale that we are out from the Moore's law right now. So uh, basically the main revolution, the main idea between all the revolution is to make some novel application feasible. For example, we can see the development for the automobiles and the computer systems, the cellular networks and mobile phones. We can see a lot of development with introduction to Android phones, and we can say that a specific setup, for example Apple or some other dedicated company, and we can say that there are certain specific projects that are related to the human genome, and specifically with development in the World Wide Web and search engines. uh, with the vast development in all those respected fields basically comes under the computer revolution, and we can say that the system is progressing in a certain pace as far as the hardware and the software components are concerned. So hardware module design and development is going on a different pace. The software development and the system development is also heading in a different pace. So we have to present a feasible solution that covers majority of the application that utilizes the computer systems. Now let us discuss the classes of computers basically. So we can say that the computer systems basically can be distributed into three major categories. The desktop computers, that are basically the general purpose computers, and we have the variety of softwares that are being used with the desktop computers, depending upon the application and the usage. And these computers are subject to the cost performance trade-off. So in order to get higher performance, we have to compromise on a cost, so we have to pay more, and uh, that is basically a trade-off while selecting or picking up any desktop computer uh, in order to implement or in order to perform some specific task. So there is always a trade-off between the cost element and the performance element. So sometimes the cost element is important to us, and sometimes the performance element is important to us while compromising on a cost. Or so there is always a trade-off, and this trade-off can be seen in the desktop computers development. And we can see that if we want some more advanced systems and state-of-the-art systems with more computing capabilities and more hardware resources, uh, and more graphic capabilities to give the gaming experience ultimate, more multimedia capabilities. Uh, so definitely we have to pay the cost in order to get all those facilities. Now the second, you can say the category of the computer systems are basically the server computers. These are basically the network-based computers, and they require high capacity in terms of storage, performance, reliability, and they are in the range from small servers in order to perform the small servers application to the huge servers, for example, the Google server or the other dedicated servers. Uh, of huge size, we can say that. So that are basically dedicated to those applications that are network based in order to perform well for all those applications that are required. So the next category of the computers basically are the embedded computers. So embedded computers are hidden as a component of the system. So majority of the system basically nowadays we can see that in cellular phones or any appliances, any digital appliances or home appliances, we are utilizing embedded computers. So they do have some power, performance and cost constraints. So we have to manage all those constraints in order to achieve some task or in order to perform some specific operation. So we can say that majority of the computer systems can be categorized into these three categories: the desktop computers, the server computers, and the embedded computers. So Shwan, what you have to do is you have to see around your surroundings, and you have to tell me some specific examples of desktop computers, the server computers, and embedded computers in our next meeting. Now, what we will learn in today's session, basically, we will see that how programs are translated into machine language. We are basically working in a platform that covers the high level language, normally what students used to do. How that high level program is being translated into machine code or the machine language, because your hardware understands the machine code and machine language. So what are the steps, what are the intermediate steps from the application point of view or from the front user till the hardware that is being followed in order to implement a specific task. So we're going to see how the hardware basically executes them. We simply write an expression. For example, in C we have to add two operands. We simply write C equals A plus B, where A, B and C are operands. A and B are the source operand, so we can say that source and target operand, and C is the destination operand. And the operations that are being performed, basically that is the addition operation. So A, B and C can be integers in our platform. So basically the main idea is we have to add two numbers and assign the result of the addition to the third number. So what are the steps that are being followed? We simply write the expression C is equal to A plus B. How this expression is being executed by the hardware? What are the hardware components that are used in order to perform the addition, and how this instruction is being converted in such a way that hardware can recognize that and can execute that. Then the most important thing which we will be discussing is the hardware software interface. Basically that is your instruction set architecture that provides the hardware software interface that basically used to get the response from the high level platform and convert it into low level depending upon the set of instructions that a particular architecture or system can recognize. So we will be discussing the instruction set architecture. Basically this is the ISA. And the third thing which will be discussing is basically how to determine the program performance and what are the matrices that are used basically to determine the performance. Uh, can cost element can be used to determine the performance, can reliability element can be used to determine the performance, can power consumption of two systems or a particular system for a particular application can be used to determine the performance, or can the response time or latency or throughput can be used in order to determine the performance. We will be discussing these in detail in this course. So the next thing is, after discussing all those factors, how the hardware designers basically improve the performance, and what are the trade-offs in order to optimize the performance or to improve the performance. Do we have the free hand that we can optimize at any level, or there are some constraints which we have to observe in order to optimize the performance? While this is the prime objective of today's discussion, so understanding the performance basically depends upon the level basically for which we are discussing the performance. For example, on algorithm, basically if we are comparing two algorithms or two or more algorithms, then we will basically discuss the performance in terms of number of operations that are being executed in order to determine the performance. Then in the programming language also affects or impact the performance, the compiler and the architecture. Basically, all at this level, basically we will determine basically the number of machine instructions that are executed per operation. That can also be used as a performance matrix. At the processor and the memory system, basically that also determine the performance, basically how fast instructions are executed. So that also has an impact in determining the performance. And the IO system, including the operating system. So how fast the IO operations are executed, that also has an impact in determining the performance. So all those factors at different levels, at different stages, affect our system performance, and their impact is considered while computing the performance within a system, or we are comparing with some other systems. Basically, these are the factors which we will consider while defining the performance. Now coming to our discussion about the program, basically what are the steps, how our program is executed, and basically how from the end user point of view towards the hardware, what is the flow that our program will be executed from the front end user towards the main hardware. So we can say that starting with the front end user, because all the programmers basically who are working on the high level platforms, high level languages, basically they are utilizing some application softwares in order to implement their application or to write or to describe their program. So how that program is being mapped to the hardware, and what are the factors that are included in between all this conversion. This is the main objective of this slide. Basically, if you can see that we've got three dedicated domains. We can say that the hardware is the central domain, is the main core component that is used to process all our instructions and to process to execute the program basically. Then we have some system software, and then we have some application software. So basically the user basically is more concerned about this domain. So the user is basically utilizing some application softwares that are used and that are written in high level languages. Then we came with the system software here. System software basically consists of the compiler that basically translates our high level language code to the machine code, because our machine only operates on the machine code. Our hardware basically recognizes the machine code for a particular instruction set. Then we have some operating system that is used to handle the inputs and outputs, managing memories and storage, task scheduling and sharing resources, the process scheduling, the thread scheduling. Basically all the stuff has been handled with the operating system. So the system software can have compilers and operating system basically that are that are being used in this particular domain, and then we have hardware that consists of processor, memory, and I/O controllers. So these are the three domains, of the three you can say that areas in which that are being utilized for our program. So in order to design the application software to implement some particular application, we'll access the high level languages in order to implement our code, in order to implement that or program that. Afterwards, that high level code is being converted into the assembly code, in which we will using compilers here that basically are the part of the system software. And then we have hardware with the processor that is having a specific architecture, the memory, and the memory has a specific setup, for example the hierarchical memory, and the controllers that are used to deal with the inputs and outputs. So these are the three major components we can say that are below our program, that have their own specific implementation and usage. Now let us see how our program is being converted from a high level language to the hardware representation that basically represents the level of program code here. So what the front end user or the programmer that is doing is that is writing the program in a high level language, for example in C. So that is the abstraction basically that works with the front layer with the application software. And basically more we are away from the hardware, more we are user friendly, and more detail is been hidden from the user. So but in a high level platform we don't have any concern with the resources and the architecture, and we can say that we are not having any sort of worries regarding how this program is being converted. And basically we are more concerned with the task implementation in that particular tool in order to implement the task. So what happens with that particular program, basically we can see that there is a swap function that has been described here. This is the swap function that is used to swap to two locations of the variables with the two arrays basically. So we are doing the swapping process, and how this has been done basically, first of all this code is being given to the compiler that converts that particular high level code into assembly codes. For example we are using the MIPS architecture here. So this compiler basically converts that high level code into MIPS assembly, so that code would maybe look like this form. So the assembly codes, you can say that that are the textual representation of the instructions basically, and that corresponds to a specific architecture basically. Here we are utilizing the instruction set architecture basically that acts as a bridge between the hardware and the software. So the next thing is to convert that assembly code into the binary representation, or you can say that machine representation, machine code representation. And then we are using the assembler here. Assembler is a component or a software that basically converts our assembly code into the machine code. So at the front end we have written a program in a high level language. So basically this level of abstraction is closer to the problem domain. We are concerned with the problem, not with the hardware and the intermediate process. Then that basically this high level language provides for productivity and portability. And then afterwards we are using some dedicated tools for intermediate conversion. For example, that high level code is converted into assembly code. That is basically the textual representation of the instructions for a specific utilizing the specific instruction set architecture. And afterwards that textual representation of the assembly code is being converted in the hardware representation, that are basically the binary digits, and this is basically the encoded instructions and data. This setup basically is being recognized by a particular hardware organization or scheme. This is so the instruction set basically tells us the bits distribution and the purpose of the bits, and how these bits are being mapped, and how these bits are being handled with the hardware. We will be discussing this thing in detail in our course. So to conclude with this slide, basically we have to follow the series of steps in order to map our high level code to the machine code. Our machine only utilizes or recognizes the machine code, that is in terms of binary, and more we are away from the hardware, more there is a flexibility and productivity, and we are closer to the problem domain, and more we are towards the hardware. Basically we can implement the same task by using high level language, the assembly language, and the binary language or the machine code as well. But as far as the user friendliness is concerned, the upper platforms of the levels, for example the higher level platforms, are more user friendly, and they don't have any sort of, you can say that uh, we don't have to worry about how that has been converted into the binary representation or intermediately into the assembly code. Uh, but as far as the lower levels are concerned, that are more efficient in terms of hardware designing and hardware processing, because the involvements of the tools are limited if we are programming in machine code. But as far as the user friendliness is concerned, that level is a difficult level that consumes lots of time. But we can do that. But we used to follow a way such that it is more easier to implement a particular problem rather than wasting our time and consuming more time to implement the same task. So we have to make the things simple. So we have to keep the things simple in order to implement the task. So we have all the options, the higher level options, the assembly language, and the machine code in order to program our code basically. Now, what are the components of the computer system? That are basically the parts of the system that basically are used to organize a computer system and a computer system organization. For example, the majority of the computer systems came with the similar components. For example, we have some dedicated I/O devices that are used to handle the inputs and outputs. So all those devices, for example, your display, keyboard, mouse, that are the user interface devices that are used to handle the inputs and outputs. Then we have some dedicated devices for the storage. For example, in order to store our data, we've got the hard disk drive here, we've got CD, DVD, and the flash. Then we have some network adapters for communication with other computers, and we do have some particular hardware organization that have some primary system components and that can have some secondary system components that are part of the computer systems. Now let us see the processor. Basically, what are the components that are inside a CPU basically, and there are some dedicated terms that are used to discuss. For example, a data path. Basically, data path is a path that performs the operation on a specific operation on a data. And what are the hardware modules that are being utilized in order to perform a specific operation? That is considered to be a data path. Then we have some control mechanism here. For example, a control unit that basically helps us arranging or performing that specific operation on a data. So it sequences the data path and the components, for example data path, memory, and other modules. And then we have some cache memory that are basically small fast static RAM memories for intermediate, for immediate access to the data, because the memory modules normally in a computer system are the slower devices, and the processors in a computer system are basically the faster devices. So in order to manage this performance gap, we have to use the setup that basically is more efficient as compared to our normal memory or the RAM. So that do have, the processors do have some cache memory organization that has been implemented within the processor. So let us see the example of a specific processor. That this is AMD Barcelona, that is a 4 processor core system. Here we can see that in this diagram we can see 4 dedicated core. This is the first core. You can see that these setups are replica to each other. This is the first core, then this is the second core, then we have the third core including this part, and then we have the fourth core. So we've got 4 dedicated cores basically, and each core is basically covering a specific hardware setup. For example, if you see this first core, this is the first core, We can see that we have a 128-bit FPU, that is a floating point unit, with basically in order to perform the floating operations. Then we have some mechanism for the load and store. We have L1 data cache. Basically, this is the level 1 cache that is mean with the processor. Then we have the level 2 cache. Basically, this is the level 2 cache. We have some specific mechanism for fetch, decode, and branch here, and some execution units are here. So we have got the instruction cache L1 instruction and L1 data cache here, and some control mechanism here, and we can see uh, the L3 cache that has been shared here, that is of 2 megabytes here. So this setup is replicated here, 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 and here in order to represent the 4 cores. So we've got 4 dedicated processor cores in order to perform a specific operation here in a single chip. Now, what are the abstractions basically that are available, or we can see while discussing the program for the front-end user towards the hardware basically. So abstraction basically helps us deal with complexity, which we have seen that more we are away from the hardware, things are much more simpler. But as far as we are more near to the hardware, the detail is very much higher there, and complexity is more there as compared to designing an application on a high level platform. So basically abstraction helps us deal with complexity basically. Then we have the instruction set architecture here, that is basically the hardware software interface, how your high level program is being converted to the assembly, and how that assembly code is being converted to the machine code, that basically is being guided or can be used, can be helped by the instruction set architecture. And each processor has its own unique instruction set architecture. Basically that covers all the instructions and all the conversions process, and all the factors that are used in order to implement a particular instruction or in order to implement a particular task. So that is being defined in the instruction set, and instruction set is a part of instruction set architecture basically. So then we have the application binary interface, the ISA plus system software interface, that is basically known to be the application binary interface. Then we have the implementation. So basically the implementation covers the detail of the underlying and interface basically. So there are different abstractions or different levels that are being utilized for a computer program to describe the levels basically. Well, student, this was all for today's session. In today's session, we have got a general introduction to the computer systems and computer organization. We can say that computer organization is basically a microarchitecture that is a part of the computer architecture. And we have discussed some different aspects of computers while defining its categories and as well as the levels of the programs. How we're going to write a program in a high level language, and how that program is converted or mapped to the machine and the machine code. We have discussed that in detail. So in the next session basically we will be focusing on the performance parameters, and we will be discussing that what are the performance parameters that are being utilized in order to implement, in order to compare, or in order to define the performance, and how we're going to optimize the performance, and what are the key factors that a designer or a programmer should consider while defining the performance.